Hey roamers, it's Jamie back at you. What we got going today is I'm going to be adding some protection to the storage bay where I'm going to be installing our 6 Lion Energy lithium batteries in our 2017 Holiday Rambler Vacationer. All of that on this episode of Roaming with Rosie. Hey guys, it's Jamie back at you. What we got going today is we're going to get those Lion Energy batteries set up in Rosie 2.3. Now if you've been following along, you know that after the insurance company considered Rosie 2 a total loss, our Alpha Motorhome, I was able to speak with them and I was able to remove a lot of the equipment that we had added to the coach. I removed the 6 Lion Energy lithium batteries that we purchased 5 years ago because they were still in great shape and had plenty of use left in them. On our new motorhome, this 2017 Holiday Rambler Vacationer, which we call Rosie 2.3, came with 4 lead acid batteries that are packed under the steps. So when we initially purchased Rosie, like a lot of other RVs, the lead acid batteries are underneath the step here, the entry step where you come into your RV. So I'm going to be getting rid of all of these lead acid batteries, and I'm going to not put my new batteries in here because they're lithium and I don't want them exposed to the elements. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you where I'm going to be putting our lithium batteries. Once I get these all out, I'll never have to open this up again. Now I'm still happy with these Lion Energy batteries. One, because they have the Lion Energy limited lifetime warranty. The other thing is that they're maintenance free, so you don't have to maintain them at all. When I purchased ours 5 years ago, they didn't have the onboard battery monitoring system that the new batteries have. So ours don't have that, but they do have the button on the top where you can actually push the button and it'll tell you the status of the battery. And the other thing, like we had it set up in the Alpha, I'm going to be putting in that Victron battery monitor, so I'll be taking care of that with that. The other thing I like about the lithium batteries is that you can drain them down to about 10 volts before the built-in battery management system will shut the battery down so you don't damage the battery. Totally different than lead acid batteries, which you can only drain down to 50% before you start degrading the battery. Now if you're interested in purchasing some lithium batteries or anything else on Lion Energy's site, we have a 15% discount code down in the description below. So let's go ahead and get started with this project. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be installing the batteries in this compartment here. This is where my inverter is, you know, the 12 volt connections. I'm going to be putting my batteries down in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take plywood and then wrap it in carpet, and I'm going to put that on these walls here and then also on the floor of the compartment here where I'm going to be putting my batteries, so that it's insulated and also protected, because this is pretty thin metal. And with what happened to Rosie 2 with the tire blowout, I just figured adding a little bit of plywood and then also carpeting it to make it look nice will not only protect it a little bit better, but also insulate it. What I'm going to be using is I'm going to be using this OSB board. It's just under 1/2 inch thick. I've cut this up into the sections that I needed. So this is the back piece. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover them with carpet. So I'm going to be using Weldwood contact cement, and this is the gel contact cement, so it doesn't drip. I'm going to apply it to both sides. I'm going to apply it to the plywood and also the carpet, and then you let it sit for a little bit, and then you go ahead and put it on there and roll it out. So I cut the pieces for the back, the sides, and also the bottom. I got my carpet laid out and I got my plywood on it, so I know what size to cut it to. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and cut this to the size that I need, and then I'll show you how I apply the glue. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply my contact cement. And as you can see, it's just a gel. It's not very liquidy at all. And all I do is I just brush that on, cover the entire surface really well. So now that we have it on our piece of wood, we want to put more contact cement on the carpet itself. So both surfaces have the contact cement on there. That gives you a really good bond. Now I could have used that spray 3M spray adhesive. The reason I didn't use that is because I've used it before. It worked okay, but then in the Arizona heat, I noticed that the glue was starting to pull loose. And with using this contact cement, I've never had that issue with it pulling loose, no matter how hot it got. So we just want to cover the entire surface here. Just reseal up our contact cement because we have to let this sit for about 15 minutes. So the timer went off, 15 minutes is up. I'm going to grab the board, we're going to put it on here, and then we're going to roll it out. So we do that, and then I just flip it over. And I take my roller here, and I just start rolling it out. Okay, and once I have that done, I flip it back over. I left this extra because what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it over, and I'm stapling the back side. First thing I do is I work my corner, so I pull my corner up like that, and I go ahead and staple that in. Then I go like that, I staple that in, and then do the same thing with this side. Pull it nice and tight, get that stapled in, and then I'll put a few more in the corner here, so we know that's nice and secure. And then I just do the same thing on the opposite side down here. And then what I do is I take this whole long edge and I just pull it up tight and I work my way down. I don't know, and I'm putting staples about every 2 inches. Okay, so I got it all stapled on. Now what I need to do is I just need to do, this is the back piece, need to do my 2 side pieces and then the bottom piece. Basically just gonna be the same process. Our next step is mounting the battery trays that I ordered. I ordered 6 of these battery trays. Got them off of Amazon. They come with the tray, and then they also have a strap that goes underneath it and then goes up and clamps over top of the battery. And I'll show you once I have the batteries in there what that looks like. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mount these on my bottom piece for the inside of that bay where I'm going to be putting my batteries. So I'm going to be basically doing 3 rows of 2. So I'm going to put them here like this and then work my way that way. And then the batteries will kind of stack like this. So how I'm going to be mounting these onto the board is you can see here it has these screw holes and it has 8 of them. It has 4 on each side. I'm just going to use these number 8 screws that are basically 5/8 long. I'm going to screw these in, mounting these to the bottom board there. Almost made a big mistake. Started mounting them and I forgot to put my strap under there. Once I have it screwed down, then I can't really slide it under. So I'm putting my strap, I unscrewed the one end and put my strap through. You just got to remember to do that on the rest of them. So just to give you an idea, this is how the strap works. The battery's in there. Got your strap like that, and then you can kind of cinch it down. Now your battery is all nice and secure. That won't go flop around. And we have a strap for each battery, each tray. Okay, so I'm going to start getting my batteries in here and strapping them down. So I have these 3 batteries in. Now I need to do is put in the other 3. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so we got all 6 batteries in here. Now that we got all of our batteries in there mounted in those new trays, need to make battery wire to go from one battery to the next. So what I've done is I've actually measured the space in between the terminals and determined that I need to have basically 8.5 inches between each one. So I cut these down to about 6 inches, and with the ends on there, that'll get me to 8.5. So how these go together, what I did is I just cut 4 black and 4 red, because that's how many I need to go in between the batteries. Next step is we got to cut this protective rubber coating back so we can get the actual copper into the end here. So what we do is we just cut that like that, and then we go around it. And we just peel it off. And we want to make sure that all of our copper goes into our end here. And when that slides in, it just goes like so and fits in like that. So I need to cut the other side to match. Okay, so we have both sides cut for one cable. And like I said, we want all the strands in this to fit in the end there. If you don't have all your strands, you're diminishing what this can handle. It's rated at a certain amount with all of those strands included. If you start eliminating strands, you start losing how much power your cable can handle. So you want to make sure and keep those strands all together and get them all into that end. So now what we need to do is we need to take my crimper. That's going to crimp down on that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit that with a sledgehammer, and that's going to spread everything out, and it's going to crimp down onto that copper. So now that I have my end in here, and I want to make sure I have this pressed up nice and tight, you want to strike that. And then what you'll get is it'll create a V back here, and it'll puncture down in there so you have a nice connection. So we just want to do the other side. And there you go. So that's crimped. So now what we want to do is we want to protect our connection here. So we want to take this shrink tubing, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to heat it up. We're going to heat it up with my Wagner heat gun. Okay, that's one side, and then we just want to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, that's one completed cable. So we just need to do that 7 more times, and then I can mount those onto the batteries. I'll put a link in the description. I got all of this stuff off of Amazon. I got the cables and also the ends, and this set comes with 8 ends and shrink tubing for each one of those ends as well. So you're kind of covered there. You don't have to. You can order them separately. You can find them separately as well. But I just found this kind of useful. They're already pre-cut, and these are the ones that have the adhesive on them, so they stick really nice when you shrink them down. So I'm going to go ahead and complete the other 7 of these, and then we'll move on from there. So while I was wiring up the batteries, these things that Line Energy gives you, to connect your cables. They're not really long enough. They're long enough as if you're only putting one cable on there, but because I'm doing my batteries here, multiple batteries, when you get two of these cables together and you put them like that, the thread on these things isn't long enough. So what I did is I went and got cap screws and washers so that I could have longer threads and I can actually put two of them together as opposed to having to stagger them up and down. So I'm going to start off on this back over here. And then I'm going to do my next one. See, that way I can have two of them together instead of having to put one here and then put that block on there and have one down here and one up there and one up there and then down there. So that way they're just all kind of at the same level and closer to the actual terminal. And then you can just take an Allen wrench, tighten it down. Okay. So now the back row's done. Now I just got to work on the front row here. So this terminal here is where I have my connections for my backup camera, the backup / TPMS camera from HaloView. That video is going to be coming out. We did a separate video on that, so watch for that. Negative side's all done. Now I just need to do the same thing with the positive side. So I had to make a longer cable on the back side here because we're coming around going to this battery, so these ones are a little bit longer from these ones that are lined up where the batteries are right next to each other. The thing that's really neat about these cap screws is getting an Allen wrench in here and tightening these down so much easier than a regular wrench or anything, and they work out really well. Keeps everything kind of low and close to the terminal where the connection is on the battery. When you use these, basically, if you have just one cable, they work okay. If you're trying to piggyback two, they're just not long enough. And what I had to do on the Alpha was I had to put one down low and then one up top and then come over here, one up top and one down low. So you had this thing like this and it just didn't work very well. So putting in the cap screws with the washers I think is a better setup. Looks a lot cleaner and everything's nice down and low to where you're close to the battery. So I'm really happy with the way this turned out. So we have the batteries all hooked up the way I had them hooked up in the Alpha. A lot cleaner though. So basically that's going to wrap it for this video. We have fire weather coming in and I don't want to be out here when it's windy and nasty like that. So just to recap what we've done in this video, this was just a metal bay. What I ended up doing was I took plywood and I wrapped it with this carpet, kind of like the same carpet you use for making speaker boxes for subwoofers and stuff like that. So I lined it all with that, one to help with insulating it, and the other thing is when we had the blowout, it took out some of the electronic components. So I figured, well, if I line this with plywood, even though it's made out of metal but thinner metal, this will help if we do have another blowout. So that makes me feel a little bit better. It's a little bit better reinforced. The other thing that we did with this is we also installed those battery trays. So now each individual battery is in its own tray and strapped down. Made all of our cables, and we got all our cables ran up to this point. So we have all our batteries set up the way I had them set up on the Alpha. So our next video is going to be about our backup camera / TPMS system from HaloView. They sent that out to us. We're going to be doing a review and an install on that. That's going to be the next video. So after that video, we're going to get back to working on the battery system here. We're going to be hooking up these batteries to the Lynx distributor, also installing the battery monitor in the shunt, and then we're going to go from there up to our charger slash inverter, and then we're going to get our batteries run into that, and we'll be taking out those lead acid batteries that are underneath the stairs. So I'll put links down in the description for all the products I use for this setup, and if you could, we'd appreciate it if you'd use those links. Sometimes we get a small commission for that. And as always, I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, I'd really appreciate it if you'd share it with your friends and family on social media. And if you're not yet a subscriber, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so that way you'll be notified each time we upload a new video. And make sure to leave a comment, that way you can be part of the conversation. Until next time, we'll see ya.